I wake up early every morning to the sound of my phone buzzing with notifications. The first thing I do is check my bank account. It's like a ritual now, a way to brace myself for the reality of my financial situation. A few bucks left from last week's paycheck, barely enough to cover the essentials until the next one comes in. Sometimes, it feels like I'm holding on to a lifeline that's fraying more and more each day. It's funny how a number on a screen can dictate so much of your mood, but here I am, letting it control me. I can't help but feel like I'm in a constant race against time, trying to get ahead, trying to make it to the next month without drowning. But every time I start to feel like I'm catching up, another bill comes in, or the price of groceries spikes, or the car needs repairs again. It's a cycle I can't seem to break free from. The thing about living paycheck to paycheck is that it's not just about money. It's about the constant low-grade anxiety that lingers in the background of everything. When I make decisions now, everything is weighed against how much it's going to cost me. Can I afford that? Should I even consider getting coffee on my way to work, or would it be better to just skip breakfast altogether and power through the morning? I've gotten good at sacrificing small comforts. It's almost like I'm learning to numb myself to the things that used to bring me joy. I've become obsessed with cutting costs. I'll go to 3 different grocery stores just to find the cheapest eggs. I track sales, clip coupons, and I still feel like it's never enough. I look at my friends, and they're out doing things, dinners, trips, just living. I want to join them. I used to, before the weight of it all started to press on me like this. But I can't. Not when I can barely afford to make rent. Not when I know I've got student loans looming, credit card bills to pay off, and no real safety net. I used to dream about moving out of this tiny apartment, getting my own place, somewhere nice. I used to imagine what it would be like to travel, to see new places, to experience the world beyond these walls. But those dreams have become distant memories now. They're like ghosts of a future that's slipping further away. Sometimes, when I'm lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, I try to figure out what went wrong. How did I get here? I did everything I was supposed to do, right? I graduated, I got a job, I moved to the city, things were supposed to be different. They promised me a better life. But all I've got is this feeling of being trapped in a system where expenses keep growing faster than my income. I can't remember the last time I actually took a break, did something spontaneous, or treated myself. I'm stuck in this cycle of working, worrying, and surviving. And it's exhausting. Every time I think about my future, it feels like I'm looking at a wall I can't climb over. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, but it doesn't always feel that way. Some days, I can't help but wonder if this is just how life is now. That there's no escape from this grind. Maybe I'll never own a home. Maybe I'll always have to choose between paying off debt and feeding myself. Maybe this is just how adulthood works. But then, I see other people who have figured it out, or at least seem to have. They seem calm, relaxed, even content. They've got nice clothes, good jobs, vacations. They seem free, and I can't help but feel envious. I try to remind myself that not everything is as it seems, but it's hard to shake the feeling of inadequacy. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever be able to break out of this. I used to tell myself that once I got to a certain point, things would level out. I used to think that once I hit a milestone, I'd be able to breathe easier, but I'm beginning to understand that the milestones just keep moving further away. The other night, I was talking to a friend, and we ended up on the topic of dreams. She was telling me about her plans to start a business, and I felt a pang in my chest. I used to have big dreams, too. I wanted to write, maybe even publish a book. I wanted to make art, to find a way to express myself creatively. But somewhere along the way, all those dreams got buried. I stopped thinking about them because they didn't feel realistic anymore. They felt like luxuries I couldn't afford. I remember when I first started working. I was full of hope, full of ideas about what I'd do with my life. But now, it feels like I'm just surviving. Every decision is a trade-off, every move calculated to stretch my money just a little further. I've become good at adapting, at being resourceful, but at the cost of everything I used to care about. There's no time to pursue my passions. No energy left to think about what I really want. Everything is just about making it through the day. There are moments, though, when I get a taste of what it could be like if things were different. Last week, I was walking home from work, and I passed a bookstore that had an open window. The smell of paper and ink wafted out, and for a second, I let myself imagine what it would be like to spend the afternoon browsing books, maybe writing in a journal in one of the cozy chairs. It felt like a dream that didn't belong to me anymore. But I can't give up on it completely. I have to believe that things will change someday. I have to believe that I'm not trapped here forever. I can't let myself lose sight of what I want in life, even if it feels impossible right now. Maybe that's the hardest part of all this, the uncertainty. Not knowing if things will ever get better, if this will always be my reality. But I keep pushing forward because what else can I do? I tell myself that someday, when the timing's right, I'll be able to take those steps. I'll finally write the book I've been dreaming about, or travel to the places I've always wanted to see. Maybe I'll even find a way to live a life that isn't just about surviving, but truly living. For now, though, I wake up to the same numbers on the screen, make the same calculations, and try my best to make it to the next month. I don't know what the future holds, but I hope that someday, I'll find a way out of this. Until then, I just have to keep moving forward, one step, one decision, one day at a time. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I don't even remember the last time I felt like I was on solid ground. It's like I'm always running, trying to keep up, but the finish line just keeps moving farther away. I'm 26, and I thought by now I'd be further along in life. I thought I'd have the job, the savings, maybe even a little cushion to fall back on if something went wrong. But here I am, waking up every morning with that gnawing anxiety in the pit of my stomach, knowing that the bills are coming, the rent is due, and the reality of my situation hasn't changed. It's not that I don't work hard. I do. Every single day. I've had the same job for almost 3 years now, doing what I can to climb the ladder, but it's not enough. The pay is decent, better than what some of my friends are making, but it never feels like enough. It's like there's always something just out of reach, and every time I think I'm getting ahead, the world reminds me I'm not. Rent went up last month. Utilities went up. Gas prices are ridiculous, and grocery store bills are suffocating. The cost of living is eating me alive, and it's all happening so fast. I don't know when it happened exactly, but at some point, I stopped feeling like I had choices. When I was younger, I thought I'd get out of college, start my career, and maybe even be able to afford a house one day. Now, every dollar feels like it's already spoken for before I even get it. The credit card balance is creeping up, and it feels like I'm just paying off yesterday's mistakes, one minimum payment at a time. I used to dream of traveling, of seeing places I've only read about, of taking a month off to just reset, but every time I make a plan, something else breaks or the car needs a repair. Those dreams, they're fading into the background now. I have a tendency to keep things inside. I don't talk about it much. My friends don't know the full story, and my family has enough on their plates already. I don't want to add to that. But sometimes, when I'm lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, it's hard to breathe through it all. I feel like I'm drowning in expenses that never stop coming, and I'm powerless to change anything. I watch the news, hear about how the economy is growing, but none of that feels real in my world. In my world, things are getting worse, not better. I've had to make sacrifices I never imagined I would. I don't go out anymore. My social life has turned into catching up with friends via text or the occasional cheap happy hour drink. The idea of a night out seems almost laughable now. If I'm lucky, I can put a few bucks aside at the end of the month, but it's never enough. There's never enough. I used to dream about owning a car that didn't make weird sounds or have dents, but now it's just another thing I can't afford. I wonder if I'll ever get to a place where I can afford those little luxuries again. I've started cutting corners in every aspect of my life, trying to stretch what little I have. Grocery store trips are planned like military operations: get in, get out, and don't look at anything that isn't on the list. I've stopped buying things I don't absolutely need, like new clothes or new tech. Sometimes, I sit on my couch, scrolling through Instagram, watching people my age traveling, buying houses, and living their lives, and I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. I'm happy for them, but it hurts. The comparison always hurts. I think about the future, but honestly, I try not to too much. It's hard to hope for anything when you're just trying to survive today. But every now and then, when the pressure of it all gets to be too much, I let myself dream. I dream of a life where I don't have to count every penny, where I don't have to stress about whether I can afford to fix my broken washing machine. I dream of a day when I can book a vacation without worrying if I'll have enough money for the next month's rent. But even as I dream, a voice in my head says, "That's not realistic. Get back to work." Some days are easier than others. I try to focus on small wins. I look at the $100 I was able to save from the last paycheck, or the fact that I didn't have to dip into my credit card for once. That feels good, like I'm winning, even if it's just a little bit. But then the bills come, and it feels like the rug is pulled out from under me all over again. It's easy for people to say, just budget better or just get a second job, but the truth is, it's not that simple. I've cut back where I can. I've applied for better paying jobs, but I never get callbacks. I've even thought about moving to a cheaper area, but I don't know if that would solve anything. It feels like no matter what I do, the system is set up to keep me in this cycle. I've started to learn how to cope, how to live with the constant pressure, but it's exhausting. I've learned to smile through it when I'm around people, to laugh it off when someone asks how I'm doing, but deep down, the weight is always there. I try to remind myself that it's okay to be struggling, that it's okay not to have it all together. But it's hard to believe that when everyone around me seems to be doing fine, when people post about their promotions, their vacations, their shiny new apartments. Sometimes, in the quiet moments when I let myself feel everything, I wonder if it'll always be like this. If I'll always feel behind, always feel like I'm just scraping by. And maybe, just maybe, I wonder if it's not just me. Maybe the whole system is set up to make us feel this way, to make us believe that we're not doing enough, that we're not enough. But then I remember, it's not personal. It's just how it is. I'm not sure where I'll be in 5 years. Part of me wants to believe that things will get better, that somehow the pieces will fall into place. But another part of me is afraid that they won't. And sometimes, that's the hardest part, not knowing if there's a way out or if this is just the way things are now. All I can do is keep going. Keep trying. Keep looking for small wins and hold on to whatever hope I have left. Because what else can I do? I've learned that the most exhausting part of adulting isn't the work itself, it's the constant mental calculus of how to make it all work. I wake up to the buzz of my alarm at 7 a.m. and, before my feet even hit the floor, I'm calculating, can I afford the coffee I'll need to get through the day? I'm already thinking about whether or not I have enough gas to get to work, about the bills I need to pay by Friday, and what I'll need to cut back on just to make it through the week. I never thought it would be like this. I went to college, I worked hard to get a job that would set me up for success, and yet, here I am. 24 years old, still struggling to make ends meet. The system is rigged, and no matter how hard I try, it feels like I'm always getting further away from the dream I thought would be waiting for me. Every paycheck that comes in feels like a temporary lifeline, but it's gone before I can even feel secure. Rent's gone, student loans are gone, utilities are gone, and then there are the little things, the groceries I need to get, the bus fare to get to work, the handful of bills I never even expected, like the medical debt I've been paying off for years. I remember, not long ago, I thought that maybe I could save up a little, put something aside for emergencies. But as soon as I think I might get a grip on things, another expense pops up. It's like trying to hold water in your hands, it just slips right through. It's been a constant cycle. One step forward, two steps back. I'm not lazy. I work hard. I'm always on time, always trying to do my best at my job, but it feels like my efforts are meaningless in a world where wages don't keep up with the cost of living. It feels like I'm stuck in a hamster wheel, going fast, but getting nowhere. I talk to my friends sometimes, and I can see the difference between their lives and mine. They go out for drinks, buy new clothes, go on vacation. They're not stressing about how to afford a healthy lunch. But every time I hear them talk about their plans, I feel this quiet bitterness bubble up inside of me. I want to be a part of it, but I can't. It's not just that I can't afford it, it's that I can't allow myself to. I've stopped asking if I can go out, because the answer is always no. I've learned how to make excuses so they won't see the tension behind my smile. The hardest part is watching my future slip further out of reach. I wanted so much more for myself. I wanted to travel, to move to a city I love, to build a life that feels fulfilling and secure. But those dreams, those ambitions, are becoming distant. I've had to let them go, or at least push them to the side. If I can't even pay for a cup of coffee without feeling guilty, how am I supposed to afford a trip across the country? How am I supposed to take the time off to pursue things that make me happy, to breathe without the weight of debt on my shoulders? Sometimes, I think back to when I was younger, and I believed in this linear path towards success: go to school, work hard, get a job, live comfortably. That was supposed to be the formula, right? But now I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning if I was wrong to follow that path, questioning if I missed something everyone else figured out but I didn't. The more I work, the further I feel from the life I dreamed of. And I don't know who to talk to about it. I feel like if I say too much, people will think I'm complaining or making excuses. The last thing I want is to seem ungrateful. It's just that I feel so invisible, as if I'm trying so hard and still don't matter. I feel like I'm shouting into the void. But I don't know how to get out of this, how to make it better. I don't have the answers, and I don't know where to turn. I do the best I can. I cancel unnecessary subscriptions. I stop myself from buying things I want, like that cute jacket I've been eyeing, or that book I know would make me feel better. I walk instead of taking the bus, make every penny stretch as far as possible, but I still don't feel like I'm making a dent in the larger picture. And every time I open my bank account, that number seems to shrink faster than I can manage. At night, when I finally crawl into bed, I try to convince myself it'll get better. I tell myself that, someday, I'll be able to afford all those little joys: going to a concert, taking a weekend trip, buying something that isn't essential, but makes life feel a little more human. But deep down, I know I'm lying to myself. I know that I'm caught in this cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, and it's not just a phase anymore. I cope the best I can. I distract myself by working harder, pushing myself further, even when I know I'm burning out. I pour my energy into my job because it's the one thing I have that gives me any sense of stability, even if it's not enough. I remind myself that I'm not alone in this struggle, that millions of people are in the same boat, fighting the same fight. But it's hard to keep fighting when you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. I tell myself I'll get there. I'll eventually be able to pay off these loans, save up for that emergency fund, take that trip. But right now, I'm living in the moment of survival, and it's hard to see the future when all I can focus on is the here and now. I've had to let go of a lot of my dreams. I don't have the luxury of thinking about what I want anymore. I can't imagine a future where I have the freedom to do the things that make me feel alive. But for now, I keep my head down, keep working, and try to survive another day. Because what else can I do? I'm stuck. But somehow, I have to keep going. I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring, but it's not the usual groggy morning haze that hits me first. It's the pressure. It's always there, just beneath the surface, like an invisible weight pressing down on my chest. The kind of pressure that makes even getting out of bed feel like a decision you need to prepare for. I look at the time and groan, knowing it's another day of barely making it through. Every time I check the clock, I'm reminded of how little sleep I've gotten. I've been tossing and turning all night, but I didn't really sleep. How could I? There's always something in my head, always something more important than rest. I drag myself out of bed and make the half-hearted attempt at breakfast. A bowl of cereal that I've been rationing, hoping it'll last the whole week, if I'm lucky. The milk's close to its expiration date, but that's nothing new. Every time I open the fridge, I wonder if it's the last time I'll have enough food to get by. The bills are piling up on the kitchen counter: rent, phone bill, utilities, student loan payments. There's nothing left to spare for things like eating out or even buying fresh fruit. I squeeze the toothpaste tube with the same desperation I feel every morning when I'm trying to make every cent stretch. I can feel it in the way I move through the world these days, like I'm just trying to survive, not live. When I step out into the street, the world feels different. The weight of everything presses harder against me as I walk through crowds of people who look like they're all moving in some kind of rhythm that I can't hear. I wonder if they're feeling it too, or if they're just floating above the noise, untouched by the same anxieties that drag me under. My job? Well, it's a job. One that doesn't pay enough for the cost of living in a city like this. But it's the only job I can get right now, and I can't afford to quit. It's the kind of work that wears you down, where every hour feels like it's being traded for pennies. The problem is, no matter how many hours I work, no matter how hard I push myself, I'm still always behind. And every paycheck comes with the same hollow feeling, like I'm just throwing money into a furnace, and it disappears before I can even enjoy it. There's no joy in being broke. It doesn't matter how much I try to ignore it or tell myself I'll be okay. I'm never okay. I see people around me talking about their plans for vacations, buying new things, taking time for themselves. And I can't help but think about how long it's been since I had any real downtime. A weekend doesn't exist for me, not in the way other people experience it. I work on weekends. I stay late at work, where I pick up extra shifts just to cover the bare minimum. There's no space for anything other than surviving. Even when I get a day off, it feels like I'm just catching up on the things I couldn't do when I was at work. Chores, errands, phone calls with creditors. The hardest part is the crushing realization that I've had to put so much on hold. I used to dream about traveling. I used to picture myself exploring new cities, experiencing new cultures, living without constantly checking my bank balance before making a decision. Now, those dreams feel so far away, like they belong to someone else. When I try to imagine them, it's as if there's a door I can't open. It's locked, and the key is something I'll never find. I used to have goals, big ones, even. I wanted to write a book, take a year off and travel the world, start a business. Now? My goals are smaller, quieter. I just want to get through the month without panicking. I want to make rent and not feel like I'm drowning in a sea of bills. I try to stay hopeful. People tell me to stay positive, but that's hard when every time I open my wallet, I can see the same sad reality staring back at me. There's no money for savings, no cushion for the inevitable emergencies that come up. If something breaks, I have to make a choice: do I fix it, or do I eat? Do I take care of my health, or do I pay for the things that I need to survive? The constant tug-of-war between these impossible choices wears you down in ways you can't fully explain. It's not just about the money, it's about the way it affects everything you do. There's a feeling of always being in motion but never actually moving forward. It's like I'm stuck on a treadmill, running as fast as I can, but getting nowhere. And it's not like I haven't tried to get ahead. I've taken on side gigs, tried to budget, tried to keep track of every penny. But the system feels rigged, like the rules are designed for people who can afford to play. The prices of everything, rent, food, health insurance, just keep going up, and my paycheck doesn't keep pace. I've started to resent the things I once took for granted. A night out with friends, a dinner at a nice restaurant, a spontaneous purchase, those are luxuries I can't afford. Even just getting coffee from a cafe now feels like a splurge. Some days, the stress gets to be too much. I'll sit down with my budget spreadsheet and try to make sense of it all, only to find myself staring at numbers that never add up. The weight of it all sits heavy on my chest, and I feel my emotions knotting up. I can't talk to my friends about it, what would I even say? They don't get it, or at least, I don't think they do. Most of them don't have to worry about making rent or scrambling for food. They don't feel like they're sinking in quicksand, no matter how much they try to stay afloat. And when I talk to my family about it, I hear the same things over and over: things will get better, it's just a phase, you're young, you'll figure it out. But it doesn't feel like a phase. It feels like a trap. Like this is how life is now, and I have to make peace with it. But it's hard to make peace with something that's constantly pushing me to the edge of exhaustion. Still, I keep going. I don't have a choice. But I've started to question everything. What am I working for? What's the point of grinding day after day, only to watch it all slip away? I've stopped making future plans because they feel so far out of reach. I don't know when I'll get to travel, or when I'll start a family, or when I'll feel secure in my job. All I can do is keep my head down and push forward. Some days I wonder if that's all life is, a constant push forward with no real destination. I want to believe things will get better. I want to believe that, one day, I'll look back and see this as just a difficult chapter in a larger story. But right now, it feels like this is the story. This is the plot, the setting, and the conflict. And I'm stuck right here, in this moment, trying to keep my head above water. Maybe someday, I'll find my way out. Maybe someday, I'll have enough to live on my own terms. But today? Today, I'm just trying to make it through. I never thought I'd end up like this. I always imagined adulthood would look different. I'd be stable, at least comfortable, maybe even thriving. But right now, I'm just surviving. Every day feels like I'm fighting against an invisible tide, trying to stay afloat, but it's hard to keep my head above water when everything I do seems to make the waves crash harder. It's been hard to admit it, but here I am, 24 years old, working 2 jobs, constantly doing the math in my head, trying to make sure that somehow, by some miracle, I don't drown in debt. And yet, every month, it's like the tide pulls me under just a little bit more. I can feel it in my chest, this pressure, this tightness. It's the feeling of knowing that no matter how hard I work, no matter how many hours I put in, I'm not getting ahead. I wake up every morning to my alarm blaring, and before I even open my eyes, I feel the weight of it. The bills. The rent. The student loans. The car payment. The utilities. Then there's the food, the gas, the things you need but can never seem to afford. The list goes on, growing longer every time I check my account balance. I roll over, squinting at the screen of my phone, and it's the same thing: low balance, no new notifications that offer hope. Some days, I want to scream. But mostly, I just lie there, trying to gather the energy to face another day. I get out of bed, make coffee that I can't really afford to buy, and force myself into the routine. The job at the office, the side hustle at night, the part-time gig on weekends, it all piles up until I feel like my body is running on fumes. Sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I don't even recognize the person staring back. I remember when I was younger, I dreamed of having the freedom to do what I loved. I imagined starting my own business, working in creative spaces, collaborating with people who shared my passion. I pictured traveling, learning new things, experiencing life in ways that felt authentic and rich. But now? Now, I'm just trying to get through the month without overdrawing my account. I tell myself I'm just in a rough patch. Everyone has them, right? But it doesn't feel like a rough patch anymore. It feels like this is the new normal. I'm constantly worried about money. I don't want to tell anyone how stressed I am, though. I don't want to seem weak or incapable. And the truth is, I'm afraid they won't understand. I've had friends tell me I should just cut back, live below my means, or budget better. If only it were that simple. It's like there's this invisible ceiling, a barrier between me and the life I thought I'd have. I work so hard, yet I'm stuck in this endless cycle of catching up. The cost of living is rising faster than my income, and every time I think I've got a handle on things, something else goes wrong. My car breaks down. The insurance goes up. Rent increases. I get a medical bill I wasn't expecting. I try to stay calm, keep my cool, but it's exhausting. It feels like the system is designed to keep me in place, constantly scrambling, constantly worrying. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I hear other people talking about it too, the way everything's just gotten harder. A few years ago, I could buy something new once in a while. Now, I'm afraid to even browse online stores because it just reminds me of how little I actually have. I see my friends posting pictures from trips, buying new clothes, going out for dinner. And I'm over here, trying to make a $2 meal stretch for 3 days. It's like there's this constant comparison in my mind. Why do they get to live freely while I feel like I'm stuck in a game I can't win? But it's not just the financial pressure that's hard. It's the emotional toll it takes on me. I feel like I'm constantly hustling, constantly stressed, and still not getting anywhere. I can't relax, can't enjoy the simple things without feeling guilty. If I take a day off, I feel like I'm letting myself down, like I'm wasting time when I should be doing something to make more money. I've stopped making plans with friends because I can't afford to go out. I've stopped dreaming about the future because it feels like nothing will change. I've even stopped believing that I'll ever have the life I imagined. I try to push those thoughts away, to remind myself that things could be worse. That I should be grateful for what I have. But gratitude feels like a luxury sometimes. When I'm hungry, when I'm tired, when I'm drained from the weight of my own existence, being grateful doesn't come naturally. I've tried to save, tried to budget, tried everything. But every time I think I'm getting a handle on things, there's another expense, another unforeseen problem. It feels like the more I struggle, the more the system tightens its grip. And it's not just me. I see people around me getting caught in the same trap. Friends with degrees working multiple jobs, parents who are barely scraping by, people in their 30s still living paycheck to paycheck. We're all in this together, and yet, we're all alone. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, if I put in the hours, things would get better. But now, I'm not so sure. I don't know what my future holds, but it's hard to imagine a version of it where I'm not still worried about money. And the worst part? The thing that gets to me most is that I've had to put my dreams on hold. The dream of owning a small business. The dream of being able to travel, to see the world and experience it for myself. The dream of having time to focus on my passions, to not feel like I'm constantly running just to stay in place. It's hard to admit, but sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever get to follow those dreams. They feel so distant now, so far away. The more I look at the numbers, the more it seems like I'll never have the financial stability I need to build the life I want. And every time I push those dreams aside, it stings a little more. Still, I try to hold on to something. I try to remind myself that the dream is not gone, it's just postponed. That maybe, just maybe, if I keep working hard, keep grinding, things will eventually shift. That if I keep pushing, keep hoping, there will be a moment when the tide turns, and I'll finally be able to take a breath. But right now, it's hard to see that moment. Right now, I'm just trying to make it through the day, trying to get to the next paycheck, hoping that maybe next month will be better. I can't help but wonder if it ever will be. It's hard to have hope when the weight of everything feels so crushing, but it's all I've got. Hope that one day, I'll have the chance to live the life I dreamed of. Until then, I keep pushing, I keep hustling, and I keep hoping that I'll eventually break free. But for now, I'm stuck. It's hard to explain what it feels like when you're drowning, but no one can see it. On the outside, I look like I'm managing. I have a job, a roof over my head, and I'm still functioning day to day. But inside, I'm constantly gasping for air, struggling to stay afloat. I didn't expect to feel this way at 24. The weight of it, the bills, the looming debt, the rent that just keeps increasing, the credit card balance I try to ignore, is suffocating. Every month is a tightrope walk. I work full-time as a marketing assistant, a job I was so proud to land after graduation, but it doesn't feel like enough anymore. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the start of my career. And it was. But what they didn't tell me was how the economy would change. They didn't tell me that the cost of living would skyrocket, that student loan interest rates would climb faster than my paycheck. No one warned me that paying for gas, food, rent, and bills would feel like I was trying to run a marathon while carrying a boulder on my back. I wake up every morning, already exhausted. The first thought in my head isn't about what I'm excited to do that day or what I want to accomplish, it's about how I'm going to make it through another month. Every day, I ask myself, can I make it to the next payday? I'm used to counting pennies now, used to calculating how much I can spend on groceries, and whether I should use my lunch break to go to the bank to deposit what little money I have left. At the end of each month, I feel like I've been playing a game of Tetris, trying to fit my expenses into a space that's constantly shrinking. I've tried everything, cutting back on anything non-essential like eating out, subscriptions, and even small luxuries like coffee or going to the movies. I've gone so far as to sell some of my things just to make rent. But the bills just keep coming. Rent, utilities, my car payment, insurance, and the student loans that seem to only grow larger each time I check the balance. All those things add up faster than my income ever can. When I get a paycheck, it feels like a moment of relief, but it's temporary. It's not long before I'm back to the same struggles. I've had to cancel plans with friends more times than I can count. I don't even think about taking vacations anymore. It feels like a distant dream, a dream that doesn't belong to someone like me. I used to think that one day I'd take a trip to Europe or visit places I've always dreamed about. But now, that dream feels as far away as the moon. It's not just the lack of money that gets to me, it's the emotional weight of it all. I feel invisible sometimes, like I'm watching my peers live the life I want but can't seem to reach. They're saving for homes, buying new cars, going on vacations. I'm still trying to make rent. It's hard to be happy for them when all I feel is a quiet envy. The guilt of not being able to join in, of always saying no to plans, eats at me. I'm supposed to be an adult, but all I feel like is a kid who's out of their depth, pretending to know what they're doing. I talk to my family sometimes, and they ask how I'm doing. I tell them I'm fine, because what else can I say? I'm ashamed of how little I have to show for the work I put in. I don't want to burden them with my problems, they've always done so much for me, and I don't want to seem ungrateful. But the truth is, I'm not fine. I'm tired, worn out, and stretched too thin. I'm doing everything I can to keep my head above water, but some days it feels like it's not enough. I try to tell myself that I just need to work harder, that I'm not there yet, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm stuck. I feel trapped in a system that's designed to leave me behind. The higher wages I'm promised in the future don't seem like they'll ever be enough when the cost of living continues to rise. How do I save for the future when I'm constantly fighting to survive the present? And then there's the debt. The constant burden of student loans that follow me like a shadow. I graduated with a degree that I was told would lead to opportunities, and while it didn't give me the kind of financial freedom I imagined. In fact, I feel like I'm paying for that education every single day. Every time I make a loan payment, I wonder if it was worth it. I wonder if I'd be better off having taken a different route, maybe not going to school at all. It's a thought that haunts me, even though I know that it's impossible to turn back now. I've learned how to cope. I remind myself to take it day by day, to focus on the small wins, like making it through a week without overdrafting my account, or when I'm able to add just a little to my savings. But the reality is that the dreams I had for myself feel farther away every day. I used to dream about owning a home, about being financially secure enough to travel, about living in a city that felt like mine. But with each passing day, those dreams fade a little more. I've learned to lower my expectations, but it's hard not to feel defeated. There are moments, though, when I allow myself to feel something different. On my worst days, I try to focus on gratitude. I'm grateful for my job, even if it doesn't pay enough. I'm grateful for the friends who support me, even if I can't always be there for them. I'm grateful for the roof over my head, even if I can't afford the rent increase coming next month. But still, no matter how much I try to focus on what I have, it's hard to ignore the weight of what I don't. The truth is, I don't know what the future holds. I can only keep pushing forward, hoping that somehow, things will get better. Maybe one day, I'll be able to breathe again. Maybe one day, I'll be able to live the life I've always dreamed of. But for now, all I can do is survive. Just survive. Every morning feels like I'm trying to push through a wall of fog. My alarm rings, but the sound feels muffled by the exhaustion that's built up over the years. I can't remember the last time I woke up feeling rested. It's always the same, the grind. I pull myself out of bed and immediately start thinking about the day ahead, but more importantly, about the things I know I won't be able to afford. Bills. Rent. Groceries. It all looms over me, even before I've brushed my teeth. I'm in my mid-20s now, and I can't help but wonder if this is just how adulthood is supposed to feel, financially squeezed, emotionally drained, constantly hustling to make ends meet. I've been out of school for a few years, trying to build some sort of career, but it doesn't seem to matter how many hours I work or how hard I try to stay on top of things. Every paycheck is already gone before I even get it. I'm living in a small apartment that feels a little more cramped each month. I've been here for 2 years, but sometimes it feels like I'm sinking deeper into the space, like the walls are closing in, pushing me into a reality I can't escape. The bills are the first thing I think about when I wake up, and they're the last thing I think about when I go to bed. They're always there, like an uninvited guest that never leaves. Rent's high in the city, and even with a decent-paying job, it feels like there's never enough. I can't move to a cheaper place, everything's inflated, everything's out of reach. I try to rationalize it, telling myself I should be grateful to have a roof over my head, but there's this constant ache in my chest when I think about it too much. It's like I'm trapped in this loop of working harder, earning less, and feeling more and more stuck. Every decision I make feels like it's a balancing act. I start the day with the best intentions, but by the time I'm halfway through, I'm calculating in my head whether I can afford that morning coffee or if I'll have to make do with the half-empty mug I keep at my desk. Do I take the bus today or splurge on a Lyft because I'm running late? It's exhausting to live like this. Every time I decide between something I want and something I need, I feel that tight knot in my stomach. I can't remember the last time I did something just for myself without feeling guilty about it. And then there's food. Grocery shopping feels like an Olympic sport. I walk through the aisles, picking up things and putting them back, knowing I have to stretch a $40 budget for the whole week. It's never enough. I end up buying the bare minimum, instant noodles, bread, whatever's on sale, but I never feel satisfied. Eating should be something that nourishes you, but it's become a chore, a math problem. I can't tell you the last time I cooked something just because I wanted to. It's always a race against time and money. I spend my days thinking about what I can make with what I have. My dreams of eating out at nice restaurants or having a cozy dinner with friends feel like fantasies from another lifetime. Work isn't much better. I'm grateful to have a job, but it's not the kind of job you're proud of. I work as a customer service rep for a company that doesn't really care about its employees. The pay isn't great, and every raise feels like it's barely enough to cover the rising cost of living. There's no real upward mobility, just more stress piled on as I try to meet quotas and deal with frustrated customers. I'm stuck in a loop where I'm exhausted, but the only thing I can do is keep pushing. The idea of career advancement feels like a distant dream, one that keeps slipping further out of reach with every passing day. I think about the future a lot. I used to dream big, you know? I had visions of traveling, of starting my own business, of being able to make decisions without worrying about the price tag. But now, the future seems like a far-off place, a place where I'll maybe be able to afford a vacation in 5 years, or 10. I used to believe that if I just worked hard enough, I'd get to where I wanted to go. But now, all I want is the space to breathe, a little breathing room, a moment to look up from the grind and know that there's a way out of this constant struggle. It feels like I'm running on a treadmill, always moving, but never getting anywhere. I try to save, but it's impossible. There's no cushion. No safety net. I'm just one bad week away from being behind on rent, one unexpected expense away from a breakdown. I don't think I've gone a single month without wondering if I'll be able to cover everything. Some days, it's harder to stay hopeful. I tell myself that things will get better, that I just need to hold on a little longer, but the truth is, I don't know how long I can keep this up. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I've always wanted to travel, to see the world outside of this tiny bubble I'm in. I want to get on a plane, go somewhere warm, sit on a beach and not worry about whether I'll be able to make rent next month. I dream of living somewhere where I'm not just scraping by, where I can afford to breathe and to live. But I've learned to keep those dreams tucked away, buried under the weight of what's in front of me. Maybe, someday, I'll get there. But right now, that dream feels like it belongs to someone else. And it's not just the money. It's the emotional toll. The constant pressure wears on you. I'm constantly tired, mentally drained. Some nights, I lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to stop my mind from racing through everything I need to do, everything I haven't done, and everything I'll never be able to afford. I wonder how everyone else is doing it, how they manage to get by without feeling this exhausted all the time. I wonder if they feel like they're drowning too. There are days when it's harder to cope, days when the weight of it all feels unbearable. But I get through them. I have to. I push through the sadness, the anxiety, the doubt. I keep going because I have no choice. It's like living in a constant state of survival, always trying to make sure the next step doesn't send me tumbling further down. I don't know what the future holds, but right now, it's hard to see a way out. Maybe one day things will change. Maybe one day I'll be able to live without constantly looking over my shoulder, without wondering when the next financial crisis will hit. But for now, I just keep going. I don't know what else to do. It's hard to imagine that anything will be different, but I have to believe it will be, even if it's hard to see through the fog right now. I wake up every morning to the sound of my phone buzzing. It's never anything good, just a reminder that time is ticking, that there's another bill to pay, another day where I feel like I'm not keeping up. The apartment feels smaller every day, as if the walls are closing in, a little tighter, a little more suffocating. I sit up, blinking at the sunlight streaming in through the blinds. The room looks so normal, almost peaceful, but I can't shake the knot in my stomach. Every morning feels like the start of a new round in an ongoing fight, one I don't feel I'm winning. The price of everything keeps going up, but my paycheck? It's the same. The numbers on my bank account look like they're getting smaller every month, and it's not just the big things, like rent or utilities, that worry me. It's the little things, too, the grocery store trips that never seem to last long enough, the gas prices that change daily, the spontaneous expenses that sneak up on me like an unexpected wave. I open my phone to check my bank account. I already know what I'll see. The balance is low, like it always is at this point in the month. I stare at the numbers for a minute, my chest tightening. I don't want to think about it, but it's all I can focus on. How much longer can I keep doing this? How much longer until I hit a wall I can't climb over? I'm always one late payment away from being in a bad place, and it feels like I'm on the edge of that cliff every single day. I scroll through the bills app, the electricity bill, the student loan payment, the insurance premium. They're all due within the next few days. My heart skips a beat. I have a decision to make. Do I pay the minimum on the loan and hope for the best? Do I stretch out my rent check and risk getting hit with a late fee? Or do I dip into savings, the tiny amount I've managed to scrape together for emergencies, even though I know deep down it's not enough to cover a real emergency? I let out a long breath and stand up, rubbing my eyes. I should have been more prepared. I should have known. But there's nothing I can do about it now. I force myself into the shower, the hot water stinging on my skin, trying to shake off the anxiety that feels like it's woven into every part of my body. But it doesn't work. The pressure is still there, a constant companion that only gets heavier as the day goes on. At work, it's the same routine. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's talking about the same thing, prices going up, wages staying flat, and the future looking uncertain. I feel a kind of quiet solidarity with the people around me, even though we're all just scraping by, pretending we're fine when we're not. I catch a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror, my face pale, eyes tired. I don't look like the person I imagined I would be at this age. When I was younger, I thought I'd have things figured out by now. I thought I'd have a plan, a steady job that would pay well enough to cover my expenses with room to spare. I never imagined I'd feel this overwhelmed, this exhausted by the weight of trying to keep up with an economy that doesn't care. I try to tell myself it's just a phase. That eventually, I'll land a better paying job, or the cost of living will stabilize, or maybe I'll finally find a way to pay down my debt. But deep down, I'm not sure anymore. It feels like no matter how hard I try, I'm stuck in this cycle. The cost of rent keeps climbing, groceries keep getting more expensive, and the loan payments I've been making for years don't seem to make a dent. It feels like I'm running a marathon, but every time I take a step forward, the finish line moves just a little farther away. I used to dream about what my future would look like. I imagined a house of my own one day, maybe a dog, the kind of life where I wouldn't have to worry about every penny I spent. I imagined traveling, seeing the world, doing things that felt impossible when I was growing up. But now, those dreams feel more like fantasies, things I'll never have the money or time for. I can barely afford the gas to get to work, let alone take a vacation or buy the things that I'd once considered normal. The emotional toll is harder than the financial one, honestly. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of constant worry. I know I'm not alone in this. There are so many people I know, people I love, people I respect, who are just as stuck as I am, but that doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make the weight on my chest feel any lighter when I'm sitting in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I can keep pretending that everything's fine. I've learned to cope in small ways. I've started using a budgeting app to keep track of every dollar, every penny, trying to stretch it as far as I can. I clip coupons, I make dinner at home instead of ordering out, I stop myself from impulsively buying things I don't need. But these little victories feel so small against the larger picture. I can save a few bucks here and there, but it doesn't change the fact that my income doesn't keep up with my expenses. The worst part is when I have to cancel plans with friends. I don't want to tell them why I can't make it to dinner, why I can't go on that weekend trip. It's embarrassing. It's like admitting defeat. I don't want them to feel bad for me, and I don't want to feel like the person who's always saying no. But I can't pretend anymore. I can't stretch my paycheck any thinner than it already is. Some days, I feel like I'm going through the motions, just waiting for something to change, for some miracle that will fix everything. But most days, it's hard to stay hopeful. The truth is, I don't know if things will ever get better. I don't know if I'll ever catch up, if I'll ever have enough to take a deep breath and let the weight of the world slide off my shoulders. But I keep going. I have to. Because there's no other choice. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere deep inside, I still believe that things can change, that with enough time, enough effort, things will get better. Maybe I'll find a way out of this trap. Maybe I'll figure out how to break free. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm still here, still trying, still dreaming of the life I thought I would have, even if it feels impossibly far away. Until then, I'll keep fighting, keep stretching every dollar, keep looking for that elusive break that might finally come. Because what else is there to do but keep moving forward? Maybe tomorrow will be a little easier. Or maybe the day after that. Maybe. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I remember when I graduated from college. It felt like the world was wide open. My friends and I talked endlessly about the future, about what we were going to do with our degrees and the paths we would take. We were all so hopeful, eager to carve out our own spaces in the world, to be successful, to finally feel like we'd earned the right to be here. I was no different. I had a plan. I would work hard, climb the ladder, save up for a future I had been taught to expect. I'd travel, I'd buy a house, I'd have the kind of financial security that meant I could do whatever I wanted, live the way I'd imagined all my life. I worked tirelessly to get a job in marketing, which had always felt like the right fit for me. And I got it, my first full-time job out of college. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough, or so I thought. Fast forward to today. The dream I had back then has become a constant battle, one I didn't expect to fight. Every day, I feel trapped in a system that keeps moving the goalposts. Expenses are growing faster than my income, and I'm running to catch up, but the finish line feels further and further away. I wake up every morning with a pit in my stomach. The first thing that comes to my mind is the same thing it's been for months: how am I going to make it this month? I know the routine now. I pay bills, check my bank account, which is never where I want it to be, and then I figure out what I can cut, what I can hold off on. Do I need groceries? Well, I'll make do with what's in the fridge. Can I afford to go out with my friends this weekend? Probably not. Do I have enough to cover my student loan payment, my car insurance, and rent? I have just enough, but not a dollar more. It's exhausting. But the real kicker is that I can't see an end to it. The bills just keep coming, each one higher than the last. Rent, utilities, car payments, groceries, gas. They all rise while my salary stays the same, or at least barely increases. I see people around me moving forward. They're buying homes, going on vacations, buying new clothes, taking their kids to soccer practice, living lives that seem so far away from mine. And I just feel stuck. It's not that I'm doing anything wrong. I've tried budgeting. I've tried cutting out all the small luxuries: no more coffee runs, no more nights out, no more shopping. I've sold things, picked up extra shifts when I can, but none of it makes a dent in the long-term pressure. Even the small victories, like paying off a credit card or saving $101 month, feel hollow because I know how quickly the next expense is going to eat that up. It's a daily struggle, a grind that I didn't expect to feel this deep at this stage of my life. The emotional toll is real. There are days when I can't shake the feeling that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I see others my age getting ahead, and it makes me question whether I made the right choices. Should I have gone to a cheaper school? Should I have chosen a different career path? Would I be in a better place if I'd just done things differently? The worst part is that I feel like I'm trapped in a system I don't have control over. I hear people talk about side hustles and making your money work for you, but when you're just trying to cover the basics, the idea of financial freedom feels like a cruel joke. I want to believe that someday I'll be comfortable, that I'll have the ability to save, to invest, to make choices without worrying about whether I'll have enough. But right now, I'm stuck. I think about the future a lot. I try not to, because it stresses me out even more, but I can't help it. I used to dream of owning a home, of getting out of this cramped apartment I share with my roommate, of having a place to call my own. Now, the idea of homeownership feels like an unreachable fantasy. I can barely pay rent, let alone save for a down payment. And traveling, which was once a huge goal of mine. That's gone too. I see friends going on trips to Europe, to South America, to anywhere that isn't here, and I feel a pang of jealousy, of longing. I'd love to see the world, but how can I when I can barely afford a weekend getaway? The emotional toll is real. Some days, I'm so tired, not just physically, but mentally. Every decision I make is filled with anxiety. Will I have enough to get by this week? Am I saving enough for retirement, or am I just throwing my money away? I try to comfort myself with the idea that I'll figure it out, but the truth is that I'm just taking it day by day. I don't have a long-term plan right now because I can't see beyond the next paycheck. But maybe that's the hardest part. I don't feel hopeful about the future anymore. I used to think that hard work would pay off, that eventually I'd get a raise or a promotion, or that things would somehow click. But the economy has shifted, and it's harder than ever to make ends meet, especially when inflation keeps pushing prices up and wages don't reflect that. I've learned to take small wins where I can, like paying a bill on time or saving a little extra, but the dreams I had when I was younger, the dreams of stability, of adventure, of financial freedom, feel so far away. I don't know what the future holds. I try not to let the weight of it crush me, but it's hard. Every month feels like I'm fighting against the current, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep doing it. I'm tired, but I don't know how to stop. Every morning starts with the same dull ache. The alarm goes off, and for a few seconds, I can convince myself that it's just another dream. But then I open my eyes, and the reality crashes in. Another day of trying to make ends meet. I roll out of bed, still feeling the exhaustion of the previous day hanging heavy on my bones. It's a familiar feeling, this tiredness that comes from more than just lack of sleep, but from the constant strain of living paycheck to paycheck, always a step behind. I walk into the kitchen, and there it is, the pile of bills on the counter. It's almost laughable, how it never changes. Rent. Utilities. Loan payments. The grocery bills that seem to increase no matter how hard I try to make my purchases stretch. I wish I could say that I've gotten used to it, but I haven't. Every time I see those numbers, they feel like a punch to the gut. The economy is a mess, and every news headline just reminds me of that. Inflation is out of control, and it feels like it's getting worse by the minute. Prices on everything are rising, gas, groceries, even the most basic necessities, and yet, my paycheck stays the same. The gap between what I earn and what I need keeps widening. I try to stay optimistic, but it's hard when it feels like the system is rigged against you. I try to put on a brave face, to pretend that everything's fine. I'm 25, and I should be living my life, enjoying these years. But instead, I'm fighting just to stay afloat. I'm not where I thought I'd be by now. I didn't imagine a future where I'd be buried under bills, constantly worried about money, constantly making decisions based on what I can afford rather than what I want. The decision-making has become a game of survival. Every choice I make comes with a price, whether it's the small indulgences, like getting a coffee from the cafe, or something bigger, like whether I can afford to buy a pair of shoes that might last longer than the cheap ones I'm currently wearing. I've stopped going out with friends. I don't even want to deal with the embarrassment of saying no because I can't afford it. I can't remember the last time I treated myself to something nice, something I didn't feel guilty about later. My apartment, which used to feel like a cozy little sanctuary, now feels suffocating. It's small, but it's mine, so I should be grateful. But the rent is a constant pressure, and it takes up so much of my paycheck that there's barely enough left for anything else. And the worst part? Even if I work extra hours, even if I take on side gigs, it never feels like enough. I've learned that no matter how much you hustle, it's never going to keep up with the rising costs of living. The math never works out. I feel like I'm stuck in a hamster wheel, running as fast as I can but never getting anywhere. It's exhausting. I'm always working, whether it's my main job or one of the odd gigs I picked up to make up for the shortfall. I keep telling myself it'll pay off eventually, that this hard work will lead to something better. But it's hard to stay motivated when the rewards never seem to come. I try to save, but every time I think I've got a little bit set aside, something breaks. The car needs repairs. The phone bill's higher than expected. I need to buy more groceries because I didn't plan for how much they'd go up this month. There's always something. And the future? It feels so distant now. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to explore and learn. I wanted to start my own business, maybe even go back to school. But now? It's hard to even imagine doing anything that isn't directly related to survival. I don't know when I'll be able to go on vacation. I can't even think about a career change or starting something new because everything feels so fragile. I'm walking on a tightrope, and every move I make risks throwing me off balance. I've had to put so much on hold. The idea of buying a house one day seems like a joke. I can barely afford the rent here. Getting a car that's newer and more reliable? That's not even a possibility. And all those dreams I used to have about adventures, about living comfortably, about even just going out and having a drink with friends without checking my bank balance? They've slowly faded into the background. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning. It's the weight of constantly trying to stay ahead, of constantly being behind. I'm overwhelmed, but I can't show it. Everyone tells me, it'll get better. But how? How is it going to get better when the world keeps changing, and I'm stuck in a system that keeps squeezing me tighter? And it's not just about money. It's the emotional toll of it all. I try to stay strong, to keep it together, but it's hard when every small thing feels like a setback. I try to talk to friends, but they don't get it. They don't have to worry about paying rent on time or stretching a paycheck to cover bills. They tell me I'm overthinking, that things will turn around, but it's hard to believe that when you're in the middle of it. Every day is just another struggle to make it through. I've stopped making big plans because they always feel so far out of reach. It's easier to just focus on getting through the day, to tell myself that tomorrow will be better, even though I don't know how. I don't know when I'll finally feel like I'm on solid ground, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like it's coming anytime soon. And then, there's the guilt. I feel guilty for not being able to afford the things I want. I feel guilty for not being able to help my family more. I feel guilty for not being able to be the person I thought I would be by now. I know I'm not alone in this. I know there are millions of people just like me, struggling to get by, fighting for a better future. But that doesn't make it any easier. I hold on to the hope that, one day, things will change. I keep telling myself that this is just a rough patch, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But some days, it's hard to see that light when the tunnel feels so long and so dark. I try to stay optimistic, but it gets harder with each passing month. I just want a little peace. A little space to breathe. I want to dream again, to have goals that don't feel impossible. I want to feel like I'm living, not just surviving. But for now, all I can do is keep going, keep pushing, and hope that one day, I'll look back on this and see it as a chapter, not the whole story. I don't know when that will be, or how long it will take, but I have to believe that it's coming. Because right now, that's all I've got, the hope that it will get better, even when it feels like it won't. The numbers on my screen blink like small reminders of everything I'm doing wrong. Rent is due in 2 weeks, and there's not enough in my account to cover it. Every bill that arrives is a slap in the face: electricity, phone, student loans, credit card. The amounts keep climbing, faster than I can ever hope to earn them back. Some days I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of receipts and late notices, trying to catch my breath, but there's always something new to sink me deeper. It wasn't always like this. A few years ago, when I first moved out of my parents' house, I had this idea that adult life would be manageable. It was going to be tough, sure, but I thought I could handle it. I imagined getting up every morning, heading to work, feeling like I was building towards something. Now, every morning feels like I'm just scrambling to keep up, barely holding on to the edges of a life I thought I had some control over. The reality hits me hardest when I'm at the grocery store. I try to stick to the essentials: rice, beans, some chicken if it's on sale. The checkout total always surprises me, and not in a good way. $50 for a few days worth of food? It's like the prices keep inching up, little by little, until everything feels out of reach. I look at the cashier, their face impassive as they scan each item, and I feel a tightness in my chest. It's not their fault, but I feel the weight of my own choices pressing down. Did I really need that extra snack? Could I have gone without the avocado that's now doubling in price? The worst part is the mental gymnastics I have to do to justify every decision. Do I really need this? Is a constant question I ask myself now. I'm always calculating the cost of each choice in terms of how it will affect the bigger picture: the bills, the savings account that barely has anything in it, the future I've always dreamed of but can't seem to get any closer to. The thing about growing up in an environment where money is always tight is that you learn to live with it. I've learned to cope with the feeling of watching my peers post about their vacations, their new cars, their shiny new apartments, while I'm still stuck in the same tiny studio. I remind myself that it's just a phase, that I'm not supposed to have everything figured out right now. But it doesn't stop the creeping frustration that starts to bubble up when I see other people living lives that feel so far removed from my own. I remember sitting with my friends one night, chatting about the future. We were sitting in a cheap bar, plastic cups in our hands, and they were talking about their dreams, opening businesses, getting degrees, moving to places where the sun actually shines. I couldn't bring myself to share what I was thinking. All I could think about was the rent, the bills, the never-ending cycle of things I can't afford. I put off so many things I thought I'd be doing by now, things I always promised myself I'd accomplish. I wanted to travel, to see the world beyond the city I'm stuck in, but I can't even manage to save up for a weekend getaway, let alone a flight across the world. I wanted to go back to school, to finish my degree, but student loans are already weighing me down, and the thought of taking on more feels like a luxury I can't afford. I try to convince myself that things will get better. I tell myself that I just have to work harder, that I'll find a way to make more money, or that my next opportunity will be the one to change everything. But every time I look at my bank account, every time I pay another late fee or have to call a creditor to beg for more time, the hope feels more and more distant. Sometimes, when it gets overwhelming, I try to escape into the little moments of joy I can still find. I binge watch my favorite shows or go for walks when the weather's nice. I try to focus on the things I can control, even if they're small. There's comfort in those moments of quiet, when the world feels a little less heavy. But then I'm pulled back to reality, the fact that the bills don't stop, the rent doesn't decrease, and my income doesn't match the pace of the world outside. I've grown accustomed to feeling like I'm always on the edge of something, but never quite there. I feel like I'm always sprinting to keep up with an economy that's moving faster than I can. I'm stuck on a hamster wheel, running, but not really going anywhere. And it's exhausting. But I have to keep moving. I can't stop, even though there are days when I just want to crawl back into bed and pretend none of it is real. I think about the future a lot, about the things I want, the life I want to build. But it feels so far away, like a distant dream that I can barely grasp. It's not that I don't have the drive, it's just that the climb feels so much steeper when the world keeps handing you obstacles. The worst part is the shame. It's embarrassing to admit, but sometimes I feel like I've failed. Failed because I'm not where I thought I'd be. I look around and see others moving forward, while I'm stuck in a cycle I can't seem to break. I don't talk about it much because I don't want to burden anyone else with my struggles, but inside, it's like a constant ache. I feel like I'm failing in the face of something I have no control over. But I don't give up. I can't. There are moments when I catch a glimpse of what could be. When I finally pay off a small debt, or when I manage to save a little extra 1 month, it feels like a tiny victory. Maybe I'm not where I want to be, but I can at least take a step forward. Even if it's small. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll be able to look back and see that all of these little steps, all of these struggles, were worth it. But right now, all I can do is keep pushing. Keep dreaming, even when the world feels like it's telling me to settle for less. I just hope that when I finally get there, I can look back and say I didn't give up, even when it felt like everything was against me. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you don't get anywhere by stopping. It's 7:30 a.m. My alarm goes off, and I drag myself out of bed, already dreading the day ahead. I pull on the same clothes I've worn too many times before, check my phone, and see the same notification I get every morning, another bill due, another payment I don't know how to make. I can almost feel the weight of it all before I even leave my apartment. The truth is, I don't know how I ended up here. I used to have dreams, big ones. I went to college, got a degree in a field I was passionate about, and told myself that, after a few years of hard work, I'd be able to afford the life I'd imagined. I envisioned myself traveling, living in a nice apartment, saving money, investing in things that would set me up for a future I could be proud of. But now, those dreams feel so far out of reach. The cost of living is crushing me. Rent takes up almost half my paycheck, and that's just the beginning. Utilities, student loans, groceries, gas, it all piles up. I've learned to manage, to stretch every dollar as far as it will go, but it's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, something else comes up. Last month, the car broke down. This month, my phone died and needed to be replaced. There's always something. It feels like there's no escaping it. I try to stay positive. I tell myself that everyone's struggling, that I'm not alone. I see the posts online, the people who talk about their side hustles and grinding to get ahead. It's easy to get caught in the illusion that everyone else is doing better, that they have it all figured out, while I'm just barely keeping my head above water. The truth is, I'm tired. So tired. Mentally, emotionally, physically. There are days when I just want to shut it all out, to ignore the pressure and pretend everything is fine. But it's hard to ignore when it's constantly in your face. I've started measuring my days in small victories. Did I pay all my bills this month? Yes. Can I afford to get groceries without using my credit card? Barely. Did I manage to put aside $20 for savings? Maybe next month. But even when I manage to pull it off, the relief is short-lived. There's always something else. Rent is going up again next month, and so are gas prices. I watch the news, and all I hear is how wages are stagnant while everything else gets more expensive. It feels like I'm fighting against a current that's only getting stronger. And the hardest part? No matter how hard I work, no matter how much I cut back or hustle to make extra money, it doesn't feel like it's ever enough. It's like being trapped in a system where expenses keep growing faster than my income. I feel like I'm running in place. I'm stuck in this cycle of working to pay bills, working to survive, and not getting any closer to the things I want. I used to tell myself that if I could just get through the next couple of years, things would get better. But the years keep passing, and I'm still in the same place, still struggling. And it's not just about money. It's about what money represents, the opportunities, the freedom. I wanted to be able to travel, to explore the world, to have the kind of life where I didn't have to think twice about spending money on something I wanted. I dreamed of buying a house one day, of having a place that felt like mine. Now, I can barely imagine saving enough for a vacation, let alone a down payment on a house. Even little things feel like luxuries. I don't go out with friends anymore. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't afford to. The nights out I used to enjoy now seem like far-off memories. I've stopped buying clothes unless they're absolutely necessary. I walk past stores and glance at the clothes I used to love, but I know I can't afford them. I've learned to live in the moment of the things I already have, but it's hard not to feel the sting of knowing that those dreams, those things I thought were inevitable, are slowly slipping away. And emotionally, it's wearing me down. There are days when I feel like I'm suffocating. I've tried to talk to my friends about it, but it's hard. Everyone is struggling in their own way, and no one seems to have the answers. I've had to learn to swallow my pride and ask for help when I need it. I've called home more times than I care to admit, asking my parents for a little extra help with rent, just to make sure I don't fall too far behind. It's humbling, and not in the good way. I cope by focusing on small steps. I've set little goals, keep my credit card balance below a certain number, save whatever I can, even if it's just a few dollars. It's a start. But it's hard not to get discouraged when I look ahead and realize that even with all the sacrifices I'm making, I'm still not where I want to be. The worst part is feeling like I've put my life on hold. I've had to postpone dreams, big and small. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a master's degree or learn something new, but I can't justify the cost when I'm barely getting by. I wanted to buy my own place, to have the security of knowing I own something, but that seems out of reach. And relationships, well, they've taken a back seat too. I can't afford the time or energy for much more than work and the bare essentials of life. Some days, I think about my future, about whether I'll ever catch up or if this is just the way things are now. Will I always be one step behind? Will I ever feel financially free, or will I always be tethered to this relentless cycle of bills and payments? I don't know what the future holds. I try to stay optimistic, but it's hard when the reality of the present feels so heavy. I can only take it one day at a time, one step at a time, hoping that, somehow, things will get better. But right now, all I can do is keep pushing forward, even when it feels like I'm getting nowhere. I wake up early, not because I want to, but because it's the only time I can get some quiet. The world hasn't fully started yet, and for a brief moment, it feels like I have space to breathe. But the relief is fleeting. I look at my phone, the screen lighting up with messages and emails, most of them about bills or things I put off dealing with for days. The weight of it all crashes over me, and I feel my shoulders tighten in response. It's exhausting, living with this constant low hum of financial stress. Every day, it's a fight to stay afloat. I don't think I've ever felt secure. The first thing I do is check my bank account. I've been doing this for months now, checking it as soon as I wake up to see if I've made it through the night without falling further behind. The numbers are grim, but at least it's not worse than yesterday. A small comfort, I guess. I quickly calculate how much I have left after rent and bills. I try to stretch it as far as I can, but the math never quite works out. It's like running on a treadmill, going faster and faster, but never getting anywhere. I'm always working, always earning, but the gaps in my finances just keep growing. I grab whatever's left in the fridge for breakfast, nothing fresh, nothing exciting. Maybe some cereal, maybe a piece of bread. I tell myself it's fine, but it's not fine. I'm always hungry for something more than just food. I want the freedom to enjoy life without constantly worrying about money. But every time I think about that freedom, it slips further out of reach. I don't remember when I stopped having the luxury of indulgence, when buying a cup of coffee became a decision I had to justify. I used to grab lunch with friends, even just for the sake of catching up, but now I can't afford it. There's always a reason to hold back, a reason to say no. My job isn't bad. I'm lucky to have it, I know that. But it doesn't pay enough. Not nearly enough. Every month, I scramble to cover basic expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, my student loan. And if I'm lucky, I might have just enough to pay for transportation, which is becoming more expensive by the day. Gas prices are rising, so even my commute is a constant reminder of how much I'm sinking. There's always something new to deal with, some unexpected cost that eats into whatever little progress I've made. I try to keep track of my spending, I really do. I downloaded apps, made spreadsheets, set budgets. But no matter how hard I try to stick to them, it always feels like something happens to throw everything off course. I'll be doing okay, managing just fine, and then, boom, a medical bill or an unexpected car repair or an extra charge I didn't see coming. And there it is, that sinking feeling, the one that hits me right in the gut. It's a feeling of powerlessness, of being trapped in a system that's out of my control. No matter how hard I try, I can't keep up. And yet, I have to keep going. There's no choice, really. The rent's due, the bills have to be paid. So, I keep working, keep pushing through the exhaustion. I take on extra shifts when I can, pick up odd jobs here and there, but the extra money never feels like enough. I try to stay optimistic, but it's hard when every time I make a little progress, something else knocks me back. I feel like I'm stuck in a cycle, working hard, but always falling short. It's not just the money that's the issue, though. It's the emotional toll it takes. I find myself getting irritable, anxious, even depressed. I know I should be more grateful for what I have, that I'm lucky to have a job and a roof over my head. But it's hard to feel grateful when you're constantly running on empty. I've stopped making long-term plans. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, to write a book, to build something for myself. But now? Now, I can barely find the energy to think about the future. The present is enough of a struggle. When I talk to my friends, I try to keep it light. No one wants to hear about money problems all the time. So, I smile, make small talk, and pretend that everything is okay. But inside, I'm battling this constant undercurrent of fear. What if something happens and I can't make rent? What if my car breaks down again and I can't afford to fix it? What if I lose my job? The thought of losing my job terrifies me. It's one of the few things that's keeping me afloat, and without it, I have no idea how I'd make it. I used to dream about what I could do with money. I used to imagine traveling, buying a home, having enough to help others. But now, my dreams are smaller. I just want to be able to pay my bills without panicking. I just want to get through the month without feeling like I'm treading water. And that's become enough. Anything beyond that feels like a luxury I can't afford. There are days when it feels like everything is closing in. I sit in my apartment, looking around at the stuff I've accumulated, all of it bought on credit or by scraping together what little I could. There's no room for new things, no room for comfort. Every purchase is weighed against what I might need down the road. I can't remember the last time I bought something just for the sake of having it, just because I wanted it. It's always about necessity, food, rent, utilities. Even the things I need are a struggle to afford. I know I'm not alone in this. There are millions of young adults out there, like me, struggling to make it in a world that feels increasingly stacked against us. We're told that if we just work hard enough, we'll be rewarded. But that's not how it feels. It feels like we're working harder than ever, but the reward is always just out of reach. It's like we're playing a game where the rules are constantly changing, and no matter how fast we run, we can't catch up. The hardest part is knowing that this is probably my reality for the foreseeable future. I try not to think about it too much, but it's hard not to wonder if things will ever get better. Will I ever be able to afford to live without stress? Will I ever be able to save for a future that isn't just a mirage? Some days, I feel like I'm holding my breath, waiting for something to change. But nothing changes. Not really. So, I keep going. I keep working, keep saving, keep fighting. I tell myself that things will get better, that someday, I'll be able to breathe without feeling like I'm drowning in debt. But right now, it's hard to see that day coming. Right now, it's just me, my bills, and the hope that somehow, someway, I'll make it out the other side. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing beside me. It's 7:30 a.m., and the same thought enters my mind almost every morning: how am I going to make it through today? The world outside seems to move at a pace I can't keep up with, and as I roll over to silence the alarm, I feel the weight of it all pressing against me. It's a weight I carry every day, the constant, gnawing reminder that no matter how hard I work, it's never enough. I live paycheck to paycheck. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember, but the pressure keeps building. Rent is due, utilities are climbing, and groceries cost more than they used to. Each month, I find myself staring at the same number, trying to stretch what little I have to cover everything. Sometimes, I feel like I'm playing a game of Jenga, where every piece I pull out is another thing I can't afford: a doctor's visit, a much-needed car repair, or even a dinner out with friends. I roll out of bed and start the routine, making coffee and trying to get myself together. The coffee's cheap, a store-brand blend I can buy in bulk. It's not the best, but it gets me through. It's the little things like this, the decisions I make every day, that remind me how tight everything is. There's no room for luxury. No room for fun. Just survival. I throw on clothes that I know will get me through the day. The jeans are frayed at the cuffs, and the shirt is one I got from a second-hand store. It's not that I don't want to look good, it's that I simply can't afford to buy new things. I used to dream about shopping for fresh clothes or upgrading my worn-out sneakers, but those dreams feel so far away now, like they're part of a life I used to imagine for myself. I grab my bag, check my bank account one last time before I leave, and there it is again, that sinking feeling in my stomach. The numbers don't add up. I owe my student loans, I owe for my car, and yet somehow, every month, I'm forced to choose between paying bills and putting food in my fridge. More often than not, it's the food that wins. I'll eat something cheap: ramen, peanut butter on toast, whatever I can stretch. On my way to work, I pass by coffee shops, restaurants, and stores with all their bright, inviting windows. For a moment, I think about what it would be like to walk into one of those places, sit down with a latte, and relax for a few minutes. But I can't. That would be a luxury I can't afford. I keep walking, my feet moving faster, as if the faster I walk, the less I'll have to think about the financial mess I'm constantly in. The office is where I spend most of my time, but even here, I can't escape the weight of it all. My coworkers chat about their weekend plans or the new things they've bought, but I don't engage. I can't. I've learned that the more I talk about what I'm struggling with, the more awkward the silence becomes. So, I stay quiet, nodding along as if my own problems don't exist. The hardest part is watching everyone else live the life I want, the life I thought I would have by now. My friends post photos of vacations, nights out, and even just dinners at nice restaurants. I feel happy for them, but also a deep pang of jealousy. It's not that I don't want them to enjoy their lives, it's just that it feels like I'm stuck in a race I can't win. The bills keep coming in faster than I can pay them, and my paycheck is always already spoken for by the time I get it. Some days, I find myself wondering how it all happened. How did I end up here, drowning in debt, struggling to make ends meet, with so little hope for the future? When I was younger, I dreamed of traveling, having a career that I loved, and building a life where I didn't have to worry about money all the time. But dreams are expensive, and I can't afford them anymore. I tell myself that things will get better. That one day, I'll find a way to break free of this cycle. But it's hard to believe in a future that feels so far away. I don't have the luxury of time anymore, I can't afford to wait for things to get better. The future feels like an abstract concept, something that I can't touch, something that's slipping away with every bill that comes in the mail. After work, I head straight home. There's no point in going out, I don't have the money to spend, and honestly, I'm too tired. So I cook a simple meal, usually something that can stretch for a few days, and try to relax. But my mind keeps racing. I think about all the things I still need to do, the bills that have to be paid, the loan repayments, the car insurance, the healthcare costs. I wonder if I'll ever be able to break free from this never-ending cycle. I've stopped making big plans. At first, I used to dream about going back to school, advancing my career, or even just taking a vacation. Now, I don't let myself dream too big. Every dream feels like a cruel reminder of what I can't afford. Instead, I focus on getting through the day. Tomorrow is another day, and maybe I'll be able to pay off a little more of my debt or find a way to make things a little easier. But it's hard to see the end of the tunnel when it feels like every step I take leads me further into the dark. I cope by compartmentalizing, pretending like I'm okay even when I'm not. I smile at work, tell my friends that everything's fine, and keep up the facade. But inside, I feel like I'm sinking. The financial stress is exhausting, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep pretending like I have it all together. Some nights, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I can keep this up. But there's always a part of me that refuses to give up, a small flicker of hope that tells me I'll make it out of this somehow. I just don't know when. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe I'll find a way to make more money or cut back enough to start saving. But even if I can't, I know that I'll keep pushing forward. I have to. The system feels like a trap, one that's designed to keep people like me stuck. But I refuse to let it define me. I'll keep fighting, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many dreams I have to postpone. I refuse to give up on the idea that one day, I'll be free. I just hope that one day, it'll come. Until then, I keep moving. It's 7 a.m., and I'm already awake. The alarm clock buzzes, but I've been awake for a while. Lying here, I watch the faint light creeping through the window, and I feel it again, the weight of the day ahead. Another day in a cycle that feels unrelenting, like a treadmill that I can't get off of. I take a deep breath, trying to push down the familiar tightness in my chest. I check my phone, almost instinctively. The first notification is from the bank app, account balance is low. Of course it is. I scroll through a few other messages, bills, reminders, subscription renewals. Every one of them feels like a reminder that I'm just not there yet. I'm stuck. The balance in my account doesn't even cover next month's rent. My fingers hover over the screen, wondering if there's any way to make it stretch a little longer, to hold off on those late fees or maybe, just maybe, get a break. But there's no break. Not today. Not this month. I drag myself out of bed and pull on yesterday's clothes, the ones I've worn too many times, and try to tell myself that it's okay. It's just another day, I mutter. It's just another month. I've said it so many times, it's become an automatic response to the pressure. But it doesn't make it feel any less suffocating. I haven't been able to buy new clothes in months. I used to love going shopping, even just window shopping, but now it's a reminder of everything I can't afford. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but even that's getting harder to stretch. I'm trying to be strong, trying to keep my head up. I went to college. I got a degree, something that was supposed to set me up for a bright future. I thought I'd be different, that I'd be one of those people who found their dream job, who could buy a house, who could take vacations, maybe even start a family someday. But now it feels like that dream is so far out of reach I can hardly see it anymore. The bills are stacking up faster than my income. Rent is more than half of what I earn, and then there's gas, groceries, utilities, and, of course, student loans. Sometimes I wonder if I'm ever going to get ahead. I barely have enough to cover the essentials, let alone anything extra. Every decision feels like a math problem now. Can I afford to go out to eat with friends? No. That's $20 I could put toward groceries. Should I buy a coffee on the way to work? It seems so small, but it adds up, and when you're this tight, even small things matter. It's constant mental gymnastics, and every time I do the math, I end up coming up short. The anxiety is constant. I've had days when I wake up in a panic, feeling like I'm drowning before I even start my day. The weight of it all makes it hard to breathe sometimes. I try not to think about it, but it's always there, in the background, tugging at my thoughts. My friends don't understand, not really. They have their own problems, sure, but they aren't trapped in the same cycle I am. They talk about getting ahead, about the future, but for me, it's hard to think about anything beyond surviving right now. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to experience everything I could. I wanted to have the freedom to make decisions without worrying about every penny. I dreamed of having a career that was fulfilling, something that would allow me to live comfortably and, maybe one day, retire early. But it feels like those dreams are getting smaller, like the gap between what I wanted and what's possible is growing wider by the day. I've had to put everything on hold. I don't even remember the last time I bought something just because I wanted it. I've stopped going out with friends unless it's a special occasion, and even then, I always worry about how much it's going to cost. I can't remember the last time I took a vacation, or even just a weekend getaway. I keep telling myself that it's okay, that this is just a phase, but the truth is, I'm tired. I'm tired of waiting for the future that never seems to arrive. I'm tired of wondering when, or if, things will ever get better. It's hard not to feel trapped. Every day, I wake up and try to make it through the day without drowning in the reality of it all. I don't talk to my family about it anymore. They mean well, but they don't get it. They keep telling me I'll figure it out, that it will get better, but how? The system feels broken, and I feel like I'm stuck in a loop that's spiraling out of control. It feels like the more I work, the more I fall behind. I cope in small ways. I cut back on anything I don't absolutely need. I've stopped buying anything I don't have to, even simple things like clothes or a new book. I keep my social life as low cost as possible. I've learned to look for sales, to use coupons, to buy in bulk. But it's exhausting. I keep telling myself that one day, I'll be able to breathe again. One day, I'll have enough to take a deep breath, to not feel like I'm drowning in bills. But every day that passes, that dream feels farther away. I've had to push back so many dreams. I can't afford to go back to school and finish the degree I started. I can't afford to buy a car that would get me to work without worrying about it breaking down. I can't afford the simple luxury of a night out or a weekend away to clear my head. I can't even dream about owning a home, about having stability. Instead, I just focus on getting through the next day. Some nights, I lie in bed and try to picture my future. I try to imagine a life where I'm not constantly worried about money, but it's hard to picture it. It's hard to imagine a life where I'm not trapped in this cycle of struggling to keep up. I don't know if things will ever get better. I don't know if I'll ever get ahead. I don't know if I'll ever see those dreams come to life. But for now, I keep moving. I keep pushing forward, even though every step feels heavy. I just have to believe that one day, I'll get there. Because right now, that's all I've got. Hope. I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring, again. I don't even know what time it is anymore, but I know it's too early. The world outside feels distant, like it's happening to someone else, not me. My eyes are heavy, my body sore from too many long shifts and not enough sleep. I pull myself out of bed, dragging my feet across the floor as I go through the motions. My morning routine is mechanical: wash my face, brush my teeth, grab a quick bite of whatever's left in the fridge, usually something that's nearing its expiration date. I don't even taste the food, just swallow it as fast as I can. My stomach doesn't feel hunger anymore, it just feels empty, constantly. I check my phone while I wait for my coffee to brew. A few new emails, mostly reminders about bills due, ones I can't pay right now. My bank account is always lower than I want it to be, but today it's worse. I glance at the balance, then immediately shut the app, as if closing it will make the numbers disappear. I don't know why I even check anymore. I can't change it. There's nothing to be done except hope I make it through today without another surprise expense that will push me further into debt. It's a routine I know well. It's one that's been playing out for years now. I never imagined that being an adult would feel this way, like treading water, always keeping my head just above the surface but never getting any closer to solid ground. The world is moving faster than I can keep up with. Every time I think I'm managing, a new bill comes in, or gas prices go up, or my rent gets raised. It's not just inflation, it's a feeling of everything accelerating, outpacing me, pulling me in different directions. My job barely pays enough to cover the basics, and yet it consumes most of my waking hours. It's a game of survival, nothing more. I head out the door, my bag slung over my shoulder. The walk to the bus stop is long, but I can't afford the luxury of a car. Not anymore. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and I pull it out to see a reminder from my credit card company. Another payment I'm behind on. Another bill to ignore for as long as I can. My heart sinks, but I push it down. There's no point in worrying about things I can't change right now. I have to make it through today. I have to. That's the only goal I can focus on. I catch the bus, and the trip feels endless. I sit there, looking out the window, trying to distract myself from the weight of it all. My thoughts keep drifting to everything I don't have, the things that used to seem so simple. I remember when I was younger, before everything changed, when I thought adulthood meant independence, freedom. I used to dream about traveling, seeing new places, doing work that I loved, things that made me feel fulfilled. Now, my dreams feel like a distant memory, something I can't reach because I'm too busy just trying to get by. Work is another day of the same, customers who don't understand that I'm not responsible for their problems, coworkers who are just as stressed as I am, and an ever-growing pile of responsibilities that never seem to get lighter. I try to smile through it, to keep up appearances, but inside I'm breaking. My paychecks barely cover the necessities, and yet I'm still stuck in this cycle of debt and stress. The idea of ever getting ahead feels like a cruel joke. I don't have the energy to work harder, but I have no choice but to keep pushing. It's a treadmill I can't step off. When lunch comes around, I look at my phone again. My bank account hasn't moved. It's exactly the same as it was this morning. I consider eating out, but the thought of spending even $10 on lunch feels irresponsible. So, I grab a sandwich from the vending machine and try to eat it without thinking too much about it. I think about how this used to be something I wouldn't even notice, but now it's just another reminder that I can't afford the life I want. And then, there are the dreams I've had to put aside. I used to dream about buying a home. I used to imagine having a space I could call my own, where I wouldn't have to worry about rent going up or my landlord deciding to sell the building. I thought I'd be able to travel by now, take that trip to Europe I've always wanted, or at least go on a weekend getaway somewhere quiet. But those dreams have been replaced with a different kind of thinking. Now, it's all about making it to the next paycheck, getting through the week without something breaking or a surprise bill showing up. My dreams feel like they belong to someone else, someone who isn't trapped in this financial purgatory. I tell myself that things will get better. I tell myself that if I just keep working hard enough, if I just push through the hard times, I'll eventually get ahead. But deep down, I know the truth. There's no real plan for getting ahead. I can work myself into the ground, but the reality is that wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. Every time I try to save, something comes along to take what little I've managed to put aside. I'm stuck in a system where the cost of existing is constantly rising, but my income stays the same. And I don't know how to get out of it. Some days, it feels like I'm sinking, like I'm one missed payment away from losing everything. Other days, I just feel numb, going through the motions without thinking too much. I cope the best I can, trying not to let the stress consume me, but it's hard. It's hard not to feel resentful of everything I've had to give up, of how much I've been forced to scale back in order to survive. I'm tired of hearing people say, "You just need to work harder." What does that even mean when working harder doesn't change the outcome? I know I'm not the only one going through this. I know there are people everywhere, especially my generation, trying to hold it all together despite the system that feels designed to keep us down. But knowing I'm not alone doesn't make it easier. It doesn't take away the fear or the anxiety. It doesn't change the fact that every day is a struggle. Every day is a question of whether I'll have enough to make it through, whether I'll ever be able to start saving for the future, whether I'll ever be able to live without worrying about money. I've stopped making long-term plans. I can't afford to think about the future because the present is all I can handle. Some days, I find myself just wishing for a moment of peace, for a break from the relentless pressure. I don't want a life of luxury, I just want enough. Enough to feel secure, enough to dream again, enough to breathe without wondering if I'll make it through the next month. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. But right now, all I can do is keep going. I wake up, I work, I survive. And maybe, one day, I'll look back and see that this was just a chapter. Maybe, just maybe, things will get better. But until then, I keep going. Because what else can I do? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.